the form of a troll, as we say on the internet, is you say it won't change the EU law, and in the US they say it won't change the US law. But obviously both laws being different, one of them has to be lying. But that's not the serious part of the question. My question would be about the criminal sanctions that are being negotiated by the presidency on behalf of the member states. Maybe you could detail the process, the interministerial ad hoc group or whatever that is deciding, and how you can guarantee that it won't go beyond the EU acquis as it's not in your negotiation mandate. And also maybe in the form of a quick comment, I see you use that BASCAP study as a base for your demonstration on how piracy harms and kills and create job loss and so on. You will soon, as everybody else, have insight on how this study, as every other commission by the entertainment industry, is so much biased because it is based on the lost sale myth. And we all know that this lost sale myth is all that is used by the entertainment industry to try to prove the prejudice caused by piracy. You know that a kid who downloads 1,000 movies would have indeed bought 1,000 DVDs. Isn't that true? So it's amusing to see this study as a basic for your speech, knowing that what is not in my knowledge in the EU acquis so far is how is it called? The calculation of the damages, statutory damages, where you will agree with the equations that are handed out by the industries, and you will agree on their demonstration on the prejudice based on the lost sale myth, where many jurisdictions in the world agreed to the opposite. So this, I think, even if it's not in the acquis, is something that you will push through ACTA, and which is extremely dangerous.
Well, it's many questions in one, if I can say so. First of all, you are right in saying that, of course, if we abide by our legislation and if another country's legislation is different, one of the two will have to change. That is clear. Which one, I do not know because I don't want to speak for the others. What I'm saying, what I've been saying repeatedly, I think clearly, that we will stick to the acquis. So that's all I can say, including for what concerns statutory damages. We will not change that. As to your question on criminal sanctions, here I would say that the question should be addressed to the rotating presidency, because, as you rightly said, it is not for the Commission to negotiate these provisions, but as coordinator of the negotiation, I can tell you and confirm you that, as you can imagine, it will be strictly in line with the acquis, and I do not think, I do not want to speak for them, but I don't think the member states would appreciate that through an international negotiations, the acquis, which often has been fought hardly or the result of compromises, etc., would be changed. So I can confirm that here too. As to BASCAP, I've mentioned, if you listen to my presentation, that this was not a Commission study. This is just an example which was released, I think, last week. As I've said, we didn't check the number, but it is a study. I mean, it doesn't mean that it's true. We all know that to each study there is a counter study, and I'm sure you would be. Of course, totally objective, and they are totally subjective, but they probably think the same of you. So the truth may lie somewhere. I've never said, by the way, that piracy killed. I never said that. I said counterfeit kills, and it does. But I never said piracy killed. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm David Hammerstein from the Transatlantic Consumer Dialogue, also a former Member of Parliament. Piracy, I'm not sure if it kills, but strong enforcement measures can kill. The access to medicine in the poor countries, essential life-saving medicines, is a key issue. One of the key elements of ACTA is very strong enforcement measures, border measures, seizures. We have seen over the last year dozens of cases where legal, affordable generic medicines have been seized on their way to third countries with these essential medicines. This is a great concern. Another question is, you said that we are not going to change the community acquis. Nevertheless, it is a secret of voices that everyone knows practically in this room that the European Commission is preparing a new version of IPRID for criminal sanctions. I'm not sure if it's the reform of IPRID or IPRID 2 in a second reading. And this has been given urgency to the European Commission. Maybe you could see how is that going? Why are so many services of the Commission informing civil society that this is being worked upon? Why is this being denied? What is happening there? Then, on another issue of democracy, it seems as if the European Commission and the Council is very uncomfortable with international multilateral institutions like the WTO, the World Intellectual Property Organization, the World Health Organization, where countries like India, Brazil, many of the southern countries are asking for reform of the way IPR is worked to guarantee essential goods for development, for well-being of the southern countries. It seems that the new plurilateral system, the way ACTA is being negotiated, is setting a precedent, a political precedent, not only for IPR, but for other issues of how to move forward with a type of Sherpa system, a system where this is a voluntary system, and then you will have no choice but to cooperate. And the last question would be about Internet service provider liability. And it goes along with the idea of cooperation. We have heard, even from yourself, that there's no need, that ISP liability already exists in the community acquis, that in order to gain safe harbor, the Internet service providers will have no choice but to apply self-regulation measures that could include, so obviously no cutting off of Internet connection will be taken by the ACTA negotiations, nor mandated, but this could be part of a self-regulation and suggested as, and also it could be pushed by the idea of criminal sanctions. And the last question is, don't you think that criminal sanctions will have a chilling effect on innovation? It will make so many companies all over the world that deal in this gray area of intellectual property, where today there is already in place civil sanctions. If they have to risk criminal sanctions, won't this create fear and make many countries not want to innovate? Thank you.
Thank you. So that's 5 questions in one, if I count it properly, in rather different fields. Access to medicine, very important topic, and as you know very well, the EU has been clearly one of the most active proponents of the change to TRIPS agreement that allow compulsory licenses for exporting generic medicine to countries in need who do not have manufacturing facility. I don't think this can be denied. So there is no reason why we should suddenly be against it, clearly. You've mentioned there have been dozens of cases, etc., etc. No, that's not true. There's been 8 cases in one country in 2008. And that's it. There's not been any more cases in 2009, I'm sorry. No, there are constantly, of course, checks by customs, yes. But what I mean by a case of medicines being held, being detained temporarily for patent litigation purposes. And this was only in one country, because in that country, for some reasons, there had been creating a jurisprudence which we don't share, and we are taking care of that with our colleagues of customs to make sure it doesn't happen. The reason also that it didn't happen in 2009, didn't happen since 2008, is because we took care of it also with the right holders who have committed not to use, even if they could, legislation for that. But we are fixing the law, and of course the purpose is not to hamper access to legitimate generics, if you want, in transit. This being said, it should also be reminded that counterfeit of medicine is a problem, and that customs do have to control medicine, and you can't just create a kind of a valise diplomatic category for medicine where you could just put anything in the box and say, generic medicine in transit, please do not open. So this is not a situation where we want to go, because we're also a duty vis-à-vis our citizens, but also vis-à-vis, in case of transit, of other citizens where the customs might not be as efficient as our European customs, and